not only is that team to the north really good, we have nothing to combat it. We had one hell of a year, and we're going to be a year older.
That's not a bad thing for this team. I think it's a worse thing for the Oilers. They're the oldest team in the league.
I think you're
just focus on the Flames.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think this team getting a year older.
Okay,
if you look at where we're at, like the players you actually care about are the young ones. You're happy to see them a year older.
Just stop. Not worrying about the age, but just the overriding sentiment about how
my overriding
you watch
sentiment
this right
is that
now.
Your key pieces are getting older and not going to get better, and you have no stars to go up against other team stars.
How do you improve?
Yeah,
how do you continue?
You're middling, and if you go back and Sam Bennett's name is on your screen, and you go back to 2011 when the Flames, whenever drafted him, it's been middling forever.
Yeah, they haven't made the playoffs.
There's nothing like. I'm grumpy pants, I guess, today, but it's like, how are you ever going up against those teams?
You have to tear this down further. And we had a big yelling match about this in the winter, but you have to tear this down further. It's more clear than ever. You need to tear this thing down much further. Coleman's got 2 years left. Nazem Kadri's got 4, making good money for a second line center now. Like, you can move that all of a sudden. Like, I'd prefer him to Brock Nelson, who's making 7.5 on the next 3 years. He was just that's the market today. You absolutely have to trade Rasmus Anderson and not re-sign him. You don't need a guy going from 30 to 37 for the next 9 years here in terms of like the last year of his deal, 8-year deal. Like, no, you need to tear this down to get stars. Watch these two teams.
I think
that's how they got here.
Yeah. Well, and you look at, you have the Oilers. They were bad for a long time and then won lotteries and they got the best player in the world. And then they got maybe the second best player in the world. So that, they did it that way, and then and some luck along the way, obviously. And then the Florida Panthers, there's some real. If you do it, if you make those trades and they work, congratulations. The Verhaeghe ad, amazing. Bennett, great trade. They get what, Lundell off of waiver. Like they
raped and pillaged the Sabres too.
Yep,
Reinhart and Montour for nothing.
Oh, it wasn't nothing. It was first plus, but those are ballsy trades to make. Sam,
I'm with Pinder and everyone's like, well, you could go into the dumper forever. Maybe you could. And guess who just was in the dumper forever? The two teams that are in the finals. Yeah, Florida's 3rd year in a row and Edmonton's 2nd year in a row. What do you want?
Yeah, because if you want to just
Peter Maher, I text Peter Maher on the weekend because I missed Peter Maher and I thought about him. I said, Peter Maher, we miss you. I hope you're doing well. And he texted me back. He's all good. And he sent me a link to the 04. It was some... Anyway, so it got me thinking, like, we had to run then, but there hasn't been an established quality squad in Calgary since the 80s, maybe early 90s. Like, and maybe I'm being a little harsh, but I'm not far off. What teams on that list were you like, well, these guys have a chance to win the cup at the start of the year? Everyone says they're going to make the playoffs and win it. No. Out of that last however many years,
the only thing is you wonder if Bennett is here and Tkachuk is here, like if Johnny stay, Monahan doesn't get hurt, because those were all very good high draft picks that turned into very good players.
Yeah, they kind of did a little rebuild and it went well. You just
had the basis again, and then they all left. Though,
to your point, you had the ingredients.
Yeah.
And so now that they're gone, don't start tricking yourself into thinking, oh, we're a 96-point team. If we can just get Marner, we're good. No, you're not.
Watch these teams play and tell me that you think Florida can't shut down it. When it matters, who?
Yeah, these are two heavyweights, and you can see they've both gone to overtime. These games 1 and 2, the divide is very slim.
Who are making the big plays? Who made the big plays?
Marchand, Bennett, McDavid, Draisaitl, Bobrovsky.
Yeah. Hall of Famers or close to it are the guys that are stirring the drink.
And look, the next 2 draft classes, you have very, very special players. Don't start thinking finishing
there
9th in the
might be
Master
always
League.
Special players in the draft. And I'm not poo-pooing what you said because you're right. Because I think the year after that,
now is what I'm saying.
I'm going to tell you that there's the kid that just got drafted number 1 to the Dub. He's the next.
He's another,
and he's so every year you're going to have special players, but you need special players. And
Yeah, I guess my point is this
this
isn't Nail Yakupov or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that won the next 2 years. A player that didn't last in the league and a good NHLer, but not a great NHLer. You have great players coming. You cannot say, we'll bring the band back and see if it's okay. No, you need to be proactive if you want to pick high. And if you look at the teams in this league, and there's 32 of them, and you say, how many times has this team picked in the top 5? How many times have you been to the Final Four? Calgary Flames got to be dead last in that stat. They never bottom out, and they never get that far.
Yes,
so mediocrity is just peak pain. That's what this franchise, to your point, has been for most of the last 30 years.
And I've been trying to say it. Tampa Bay, you felt like they could do better. Florida, Boston, when they were good. Don't we want a 5 to 8 year window of we're one of the favorites? Like, I know it sucks to be Dallas right now, and there was a decade of San Jose that they would get close and not do it. But again, I still think it's a lot better than. Whoa! Look at this team. Where'd these guys come from? That was the 04 group. We fluked our way to a final, to a game 7.
How many points did you have that year? 92.
Well, we didn't have we were sixth place. We're sixth place, and we got a Hall of Fame goaler. Halfway.
There's a lot of similarities there. To be fair, the one piece you do have that's a hard one to
find.
Yeah,
and the similarities afterwards are what scare me.
Right.
Is that we've got the goaltender, the warts have disappeared, but we're not really.
Now we're going to go spend on veteran free agents. Careful.
Now, I'm not trying to be cheeky, but what would you say to someone who maybe halfway through the year was saying, get some scoring in here, make some trades.
Yeah, but you were going
get some scorers in here.
They were thinking they're a playoff team.
Yeah, they did. They sat on their hands at the deadline because they
didn't do one or the other. They didn't use the cap space that they were supposed to. Instead, they just saved themselves however fucking millions of dollars. Didn't help themselves at all, other than the bottom line. And you were sticking in it. You added guys in Farabee and Frost, so you thought you were going to go for it. And you were a point away. But that doesn't make you a 10-year juggernaut.
I know.
Yeah, you were on a run. They saw it. They were like, "Whoa, we're pretty." Then go for it. Take your stab at the 1-year run, and then dismantle. So yes, I understand what you're saying. I'm cheeky saying go get guys, but they weren't doing either. Yeah, and look where they ended up. The worst possible position for growing this team. And I'm not discounting the fact that some of the kids got to learn big games down the stretch. Okay, great. You still have to be able. Tell me next year you're 100% convinced we're 96 points or above.
God, no. Can't do it.
Not a chance. So how are we better off?
That's why you have to trade Rasmus this summer, fellas.
Weeks. And some of it comes from watching these two teams and going,
not even close.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they're the two best. Well, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? Here? Oh, we had a hell of a year. This was great. 96 points. Everybody come out, buy some tickets. How about a few playoff rounds? How about we're real comfortable going into round 1? And if we lose round 1, it's a massive upset. How about that? How about we have to be massively upset to lose out in round 1 instead of, we squeaked in, they got a chance now. It's been how many years?
Well, yeah, it's for some people
35 years,
their entire lifetime.
Yeah, and look, they've won the West and they've won the division and they've
one-offs.
They've been teams that people have picked to come out of the Western Conference and go to the Cup final. I know, preseason. After the big offseason shuffle where Johnny and Matthew left, there was a lot of people that liked them a lot with the moves they'd made. But
a lot of us hated it.
But let's be honest, if you take away the weird qualifying bubble, that old group never even made it 2 years in a row to the playoffs. That's wild.
And they ran through coaches. Now, I think some of them they needed to, and one of them was a real weird situation. So maybe but.
Established coach, fire him, go cheap. Established coach, fire him, go cheap. Established coach, fire him, went cheap. Now, Huska's been very good for a guy that probably has one of the lowest coaches' salaries in the NHL, but you could look there too if you're the owner. What would have happened if you didn't go to first-time head coaches in Ward and Gulitz and you went with established guys when you had the ingredients in the kitchen? Why is it always a first-time GM here or someone that never gets hired ever again anywhere else? When was the last time they went out and got an established decision maker that had done the job for a decade?
Love you, Craig.
Love you. He understands how to manage up. He's been around it a long time, but we never got the like, who's the best guy in the league? Let's go get him. Or who's the next best guy? Who's working behind the best guy in the league?
I believe they tried to get Stevie Y at one point, and he said, thanks.
It didn't last very long because it probably said, yeah, how's this going to work? Oh, you're going to green or red light my decisions? I'm good.
Yeah.
My guess.
Anyway, I'm a little depressed because you watch Bennett perform and you go, Jesus, that was no good. Monahan won an award. He was injured. You give him up for him.
And that wasn't a pressing issue because you have LTIR.
And that's just it. If you could keep going back year over year and go, why'd you do this? Now, maybe that's life and everyone in every organization can, but we haven't had a cup contender. Am I wrong? Were they really cup contenders, or were we just drinking the Kool-Aid when Kipper was here from 2005 to 2010?
I don't know. I mean, it depends how you define the terms. But like, look, they were teams that people expected to win around. They never did again. They should have been favored in a few series. They were. It happened in the early 90s too. They won in 89 and they had great teams for 3 or 4 years and lost in the first round every year. And slowly all the stars trickled away, just like they have in this last chapter. Neuendijk, Gilmore, Al McInnes, Gary Suter, like Hall of Famers are just like, yeah, I'm going to go now.
It'd be interesting to know if there was a season, what you guys would have done that next year.
Yeah, that was the year.
Because you go 2 years out and then you lose in round 1, game 7, Anaheim.
Yeah,
well, maybe but what if you don't make the playoffs the next year, or you get in round 1 and lose, and then it's like, wow, that really was lightning in a bottle, a one-off anomaly run 2 years ago or last year in 2004.
I think part of the problem with that team in that era was that it was the changeover of rules as well, and we were a certain type of team.
You were a certain type.
Yeah, that's fair. So if you don't have the
watched
lockout,
the highlights that Peter Marr sent me last night, and I'm like, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. That's a penalty. Penalty.
Yeah.
Oh, and a penalty.
So the lockout, you lose a bunch of guys you would have had under contract that you would have kept in the fold, like your commies and some other guys.
Team, and it wasn't sorry, Ryan, but it wasn't our abilities. It was the fact that we were a tight team that helped us win.
Yeah,
I agree.
But in fairness, that team was built for that rule book, for those rules. It's not.
And if you don't have a lockout, you don't change the rules. I think it was like, okay, now we're gonna have to.
Regardless, we have had 40 years of. It's nice to watch this hockey and go, God.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the point you make about wouldn't it be nice to be one of those teams where, like, playoffs? Well, yeah,
obviously,
but at probably home ice.
Yes.
But is it going to be Colorado again in round 3? Is it going to be Dallas again? What's it going to take to get over?
Those are the good problems.
Yeah. What's it going to take to beat
you
Colorado?
Could be mad. Jim Nill just fired his coach in the semifinal. Like
3 years in a row, the Final Four.
Let's have that problem.
Yeah, Carolina's problems are better problems to have than the Flames' problems. They got all the way to the Final Four again. Have all their picks, 2 firsts from Dallas, lots of cap space. Those are better problems.
Hey, buddies, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.